Sure. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. We caught up the other week in Manchester, now back in Dubai.
Yeah, yeah. What's new?
Digging into AI, trying to better the systems, trying to keep healthy. I'm in my 30s now, trying not to let the body break down. But yeah, keeping well, enjoying working with brands. There's a lot happening within e-commerce, so every day is a learning curve, but keep doing the
Nice.
foundational, keep building. How about yourself?
Yeah, that sounds good, mate. I'm all good. Since we last spoke properly, I think a lot has changed for me in terms of sprint. We had been focused on e-commerce and D2C for like a good 3.5 years, and then slowly realized that I think that there's actually like a bigger opportunity in the B2B space, and I didn't feel like there was like a go-to B2B paid ads agency. And I felt like a lot of e-commerce now is very competitive. It's quite like a saturated market. So I think I wanted to try and go and build something in a new space and try and get like ahead of the market there. So yeah, that's the main thing that's really changed with Sprint. And then in the past year since we've done that, like it's basically doubled, which is really good. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. It'd be good to like hear on your side, like as your service, because I'm sure it's changed and like evolved since we last spoke as well.
Yeah, for sure. So my service, as you know, bread and butter was SEO. Moved into the e-commerce space heavily around 2019. COVID kicked off. People started spending across the globe, revenue, buy. E-commerce brands got busier and busier. And where I sort of found myself is because the goal at the start was to build an agency, and then I sort of stepped away from that. I'm like, I want to work with a handful of clients and do more than just SEO. So over the years, I've learned to understand buying behaviour, how to structure a website for customers, how to look at the data behind what customers are doing on the website, and then how to build that customer journey. So from getting the first click into the post click and getting that conversion. So I very much sit in this grey area where it's not just SEO, it's almost a hybrid of conversion rate optimization as well, to try and to understand, what customers are doing, how do we improve conversion, where the opportunities lie on the website. And that's a very tailored service. So when I'm working with a brand, I can't just package that easily and distribute that across 20, 30, 50 brands, because they wouldn't get that same level of service unless they was hiring multiple, disciplines in terms of conversion rate optimization. Because that's what I find, like yourself, you probably work on that conversion area as well, as much as, building a funnel, because you understand, it's not just about getting traffic to a landing page. It's understanding what the customer wants from that landing page. Why have they come to that landing page? What's the pain points behind it, and how we deliver that solution? And then that's ongoing research at data, looking at the analytics behind it. And then we're dealing with data discrepancy. So within our analytics, we have to dive into that and look at the different data channels and understand where the issues are, where the opportunities lie. At the end of the day, for a business, the only thing that matters is revenue. It's fixing problems, and creating more opportunity to build that revenue. And that's where I sit with brands. So I will come in and I'll say, you need to do X, Y, and Z on your website, because I can see from the data you're missing out on these opportunities. Because what happens is people sit in silos, teams sit in silos, or SEOs sit in a silo, the pay team might sit in a silo, the conversion team sit in a silo. So there's no one in the middle gluing all that together. And that's where I try to come in and say, we need to change these landing pages. We need to structure the website like this. This is how it's going to equal more revenue. And then we track that and we make changes and iterate from that. Yeah, that's how I fit in with brands, whether it's six-figure
Yeah,
Shopify
nice.
brand or going into, I've worked with huge brands like Lenovo to understand, mass traffic and how we improve more revenue from that.
Yeah, nice. How has SEO changed in the past year in terms of like AI, and how search has basically changed as well?
Massively so much, and it's changing a lot. So the market, how people shop, how people search, it's no secret that they go into ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, but you get grifters that will say, search is dead, no one uses Google anymore, but, the data is showing there's still, millions, billions of clicks going to websites. But people do shop on these LLMs, these large language models, and compare with them. Like you probably use it, I use it myself, but they're still going to Google, they're still searching. But the challenge now is Google's created AI overviews. So this is taking clicks away from brands. So, we're seeing case studies, we're seeing brands lose clicks overnight for informational content. And then you're battling against Reddit feeds in Google as well, what we like to call noisy SERPs or noisy Google pages, where there'll be like product carousels, images, videos, AI overviews. So you're going against all these different properties to try and win that customer, to try and win that click. So the best, what the best brands are doing is optimizing for them all. But this then raises the question of resource allocation. Like in a perfect world, a brand would have unlimited money, they'd create the best videos, the best content, they'd have the best technical setup, and they'd rank in all these different Google properties, they'd show up in ChatGPT all the time. But we don't live in a perfect world. So this is where I sort of mentioned then is having that holistic approach on, okay, where do the opportunities lie for the resource that we have, and what realistically can we target here, and where can we win the customer to start to build more revenue through the website. So it's a challenging place, but a fun place as well. Like shopping is become a huge opportunity. So merchant sense, so looking at your shopping feed again. So this is not typically SEO, but me coming into a brand and saying, right, I want to do X, Y, and Z with your shopping feed, because we've got a huge chance here to start to win some organic shopping clicks. So that, again, it's knowing where the opportunities lie on a website. So search is definitely changing. Google's pushing for big changes. Sam Altman for OpenAI wants to everyone to turn into a robot, not search anymore, and just let bots do the thing. But yeah, that's the challenges we have ahead.
Yeah, nice.
How about yourself with PPC? Obviously, it's become more costly to win clicks, and brands are investing into it. So where are the challenges and the opportunities?
Yeah, but it's interesting. As a whole, my service has evolved over time. I think I used to be very PPC and Google Ads focused, and I think over time I've been focusing more on the meta side. I think for me it's about is building sales funnels for a business, and I think Meta is the best place to basically start. It's a very top of funnel platform, isn't it? So a lot of the work we've been doing recently is building those Meta ad sales funnels, but specifically just for B2B companies. So it's been going great. And we've basically been starting on the strategy, on the offer, on the messaging, and the positioning. Then I've been building all of the ads consistent in those messages. And then I've been building landing pages on Lovable recently, which is it's been a game changer, to be honest. And how we do that has meant that it's compressed the time it takes to go and test messages in the market. In some agencies and in some companies, they'll have a web design agency, and to go and build a page and to make changes, they'll basically charge extra for it, and it's very slow. So on Lovable, it's been amazing to go and implement these things really, really quickly, to build different funnels and test them in the space of a week, and understand which offer and also which message is resonating the best. So yeah, on the ad side, in terms of AI, there's been different ways I've been utilizing it. It's really helped our kind of creative workflow as well. So on the static ad side, in B2B, it's been a massive service this year, is performance creative on the B2B side. Yeah. And nobody really is is doing this in the market, taking all of that in a D2C performance creative and applying it on a service-based businesses.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. And AI in the workflow has been really good at coming up with visual concepts and different messages and different angles. And then we have actually real designers and basically human designers, which then go and make those graphics. So that's really amplified everything which we're doing. But it's so obvious now to see how AI has been made responsible for any piece of work instead of being amplified. Instead of amplifying someone's thinking, it's being used as the end result and the end product. And you see this on LinkedIn, on ad designs, on posters and stuff like that. Cause it's just AI slot basically. And I think as those people basically missing a trick, because if you have a bit of judgment and taste and thinking behind as the work which you're doing, and then as you use AI as a complementary partner to that, then as the work just gets infinitely better and just keeps getting better from there. And I think if people are just using it as the end product, whether it's it's a blog, for example, and it's just from Claude and there's been no input, I think as people are just missing a trick there and just using it for like exactly just the wrong things, to be honest.
Yeah, true that. And it's almost going back to like the speed, it's almost an education piece, isn't it? Where, we live in this world where it's fast deployment is testing. And, whether it's an ad, whether it's a piece of content, like it's never always going to be a silver bullet. For 10 pieces of content, you might have three that do well. For every 10 emails that a brand sends out, you might have two or three that do well and maximize the most revenue. 80/20 model, isn't it? And when you're waiting on an agency to create one single landing page for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and then you have to say to that brand, this page might not work. And then you have to go back to that agency to say, we need to do this X, Y, and Z because the data is saying, consumers are not going down the page or they're not engaging with it. But now we have this speed of rapid testing. And then that goes on to your next point of having domain expertise to edit whatever that work is, whether it's a piece of content. And on LinkedIn, like we both create content on LinkedIn, and I always say if you have to understand basic copywriting if you're using AI to
Yeah.
content, because you don't understand if that is good or bad. Same if AI is making your website and you have no design flair whatsoever. You don't know if that's good or bad, but you're just publishing it regardless. So, when people claim like a certain niche is dead, it's because they don't have domain expertise and they think AI can do, just as good as them or better. But at the end of the day, there has to be a decision maker on AI ultimately
Yeah.
to say this passes the test or this does not pass the test and it needs
Yeah.
editing. And, that's where we are now. And unfortunately, brands are falling prey to that and then realizing and have to go and reinvest, whether it's to clean up the website, clean up content. But we're seeing it more and more. And on AI with content, like I was thinking about like LinkedIn like impressions have been suppressed for creators. But if you put, everybody's time on that platform, and this goes for every
Yeah.
platform into, for example, 10 units of time, you might have 5 units of time for impressions for people that create content and then 5 people of time for all the ads on the platform. What's happening now is AI is flooding that unit of time. So it suppresses the good stuff, but the bad stuff's there. But that's good for creators, and whatever niche, because you can easily stand out in a crowded marketplace just by
Yeah.
having that domain expertise and editing that AI content. So it's awesome, but use it to amplify, like you mentioned, your skills as opposed
Yeah.
to letting it just run and do what it wants.
Well, I had like an interesting situation recently where a client had basically I'd been using two agencies, so it was me and another agency, and they wanted to compare our services and our ad creatives. And on my side, I was using like AI in the ad creative process, but I was using it as like an amplifier to speed up things such as vision boards and doing concepting and different angles and things like that. Like I wasn't just going just saying I'm going to type in this prompt and then run this ad in the ad account. Like it was more, it's included in the actual in the workflow process. And this other agency, I've just been typing a prompt in and just using that ad as the one that's being ran on the ad. And the difference in our quality was just night and day. And it was like, all that's different there is just workflow
Mm.
and somebody's standards of what's acceptable and what's not. And it's been interesting just in terms of the actual performance as well. And our ads, which had been human made, but had been amplified with like AI, had done so much better than as this other agencies, which are just like, it's just laziness basically. And it just goes back to the point of that, like, if you have expertise and a certain skill set, and then you go and use AI in a smart way and embed it into the workflow instead of just using it as the actual product itself, then I feel like it's as your end result and your output, like, are going to be so much better. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think another thing I thought would be good to touch on is like how we use our service for like our own businesses. So I know, for example, of you, and like over the years, I've had loads of different projects, and you've been able to utilize those skills on your own projects, which I think is like, it's the best thing as a marketer is to go and build these skills on other people's companies, and then as you also get to use them on your own company as well. So it would be good to like hear just like how you've done that like in the past few years.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just in business, it's in life, understanding people, understanding the emotion behind it, and being able to communicate clearly your point or what they want. So, like, definitely in business, every business I work with, I listen to what they're trying to achieve. The first thing comes with communication and understanding and empathy, humility, basic human skills to understand the founder or the CMO, understand the team, where their frustrations lie, they might not be explaining what they want, but you have that understanding to, take that message and then relay that back and build that into, a plan for the business. And then we get into strategy. Strategy is, I've been able to build core skills over the years. I did computer science at university. I started building websites, WordPress websites, selling them. That's going back a bit now. So I had that understanding, of when I start working with a brand, I don't need to wait, ages. I can just make a change in the back end if I need to. And then copywriting, I've always been interested, and I've written over 1,000 LinkedIn posts. I write emails. I've always been interested in copywriting, just simplistic writing and being able to communicate effectively, whether that's web content, social content, talking to your partner. And then, I'm obsessed with like UX. I'm a sucker for like, when I see a great website, like how well they've put that together. But having a sexy website doesn't always equal revenue. What matters again is the customer. So it's understanding what the customer wants, which leads into data. So understanding data, some agencies might have their own, theory of what they want to do and not really look at the data, because when you're digging into data, it can take time. We're blessed now with tools like Claude. So Claude can, look at big data, give you a theses, but you still need to understand the data and challenge that. Once you do that, you can get better results. You can start to read what's happening on a website, what's happening within the marketing, and then you can build out better results, constant iteration. And then, that gives me that confidence, that entrepreneurial of starting businesses. Like, we've done stuff in the past. Obviously started the fragrance business, Rebel Aromas. I've been doing consultancy now for, I think it's like 8 years on my own. Nobody's here to save you. You've just got to believe in your own skills
Yeah.
and be able to constantly try and, get results for brands. So that's where my skills are, is, being able to understand people, being able to take that, being able to build that into a strategy, being able to read numbers, and having the hard skills to do that. And now we've got AI. So, that becomes a new learning challenge as well. Every day I'm using it. I find it incredible, like the analysis you can do, the cool stuff you can do. Like I mentioned the other day, you can create your own crazy videos. But I think you can go in a rabbit hole with AI and then you think, what am I doing here? Why am I wasting time on X, Y, and Z when I should be focusing
Yeah.
on, what's moving the
I'm
needle?
guilty as well.
Yeah, by
I've
all
seen
means,
some
if you're having fun, that's a big part as well. You've got to have fun in life. But if it's not, positively impacting your business and your clients, it might be time to chop it.
Yeah, I think there's so much time now that is made available because of AI and because it can speed up so much stuff. So then it becomes a question of where then to actually spend your time. And I think that's something over the past like 5.5 years of business that I think I've gotten better at, is utilizing where I'm basically focusing my energy and my time. It was one of the biggest levers, I think, for Sprint's growth this year has just been like us building our own sales funnel. So it's the same service which we do on our clients, and we've just built one for Sprint. So that's been a B2B advertising funnel. So we are basically running meta ads, statics and videos with our offer and messaging, which is like our B2B paid ad service. And it now generates us probably like 5 booked calls a week. In the past 30 days, we've generated 3 new clients from it. So it's working really well. I think in business, so many people do too many things at the same time and work on loads of different strategies. In the past, I've done PPC, I've done cold email, I've done LinkedIn content, I've done meta ads as well, like all at the same time. And it just means you're just scattered across all those things.
Saturated.
I think, yeah. And the biggest unlock for us has just been like a sticking to one thing and just saying, let's focus on the B2B market and this service, and let's go and build it with this sales channel. And I think that focus and just removing all those distractions is a thing that's like is the biggest unlock, and ends up actually leading to the like as the best results. And it's nice now because every day I can, or like every week, for example, I know I'm going to be getting like at least 5 booked calls like every week. And that like consistency then means you can go into sales conversations and you're more confident, as you're not then thinking, where's the next client going to come from? And when's the
Definitely.
next deal going to land? I think I've realized as well that as building like a predictable pipeline makes you like a better business person and makes you a better business owner, because you are like not coming from a place of scarcity. So when I'd be doing deals previously and I'd no pipeline, I'd be doing worse deals in terms of taking too much on, in terms of lowering my fees and discounting more. But if you have a pipeline already and it's consistent and it's predictable, like you can go into sales conversations and come across as confident and like hold your line on pricing. And if something's a bad deal, basically say no to it. But if you've nothing coming in, then it's very, very hard to do that. And you end up getting like on the bad end of deals. So
For sure.
it's been one of those things, I think, that like as we've utilized our skills to as basically build the same service which we're doing on our clients. On your side, like have you utilized SEO much in terms of like gaining your own clients there?
I did at the start, I did. So I picked a lot of local up when I first started. Like I fired up a website, I ranked for like Shopify agency, I ranked, for all the local queries in Bolton, around Greater Manchester. And then I sort of made the decision where I just don't want to work locally. Like I'd work for agencies there. I want to work with clients, around the globe, in the US, Asia market, Europe. And then my first one I went to was Upwork. And believe it or not, I got incredible clients on there. I'd probably say that changed my life, for the better. It gave me that opportunity to enjoy what I'm doing, to keep building, to be fully remote. Met some great brands on there, built my portfolio, and then got started on LinkedIn. I decided, the next step is to build my personal brand. So I got started on LinkedIn. Now have 100K plus followers, and that's built a steady pipeline of clients coming through. So in terms of SEO, like I've not really had to, like I've never spent any money on ads. I've never done SEO because I've never needed to
Nice.
as of yet. I spoke to you about doing ads potentially, so that that's in the pipeline. But yeah, not so much to win my own. As I say, I've never had to do it. Where I'm fortunate to be in that position not to. I've just had comfortable, steady flow of leads coming through Upwork and LinkedIn. And as of today in 2026, that's still been working for me.
Yeah, nice. Is the goal now?
The goal is to keep working with brands, keep scaling, helping them scale as times get more difficult in terms of what's happening with AI, what's happening with cost of paid acquisition, and to help, you're in a challenge where all these new services are popping up, not necessarily the best, best at heart for the brand. So keep scaling with brands, keep bettering my skills. I want to start working more on shopping feeds and getting brands more traction. I feel like it's an underutilized area. So being able to deliver a service to help with shopping clicks in Google, but also LLMs as well. ChatGPT has launched ChatGPT ads where they're looking at shopping feeds. There's going to be organic listings in there. And then we'll look at like Reddit as well. So Reddit are pushing shopping more and more now. So there's that opportunity that lies in there as well. And so that, that's the plan, to keep bettering my service offering for brands and keep scaling e-commerce brands.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, on the LinkedIn side, I think it's definitely been a good channel in terms of getting clients linked in. I think it's probably slowed down for me in the past like year or so. I'm not sure if that's just because of like consistency. I'm not the most consistent on the platform, which maybe it's just that. But yeah, I think ads for me are like consistent, and that's why I'm like happy to spend over £1,000 a month on paid ads just because of the consistency there. But obviously organic platforms such as LinkedIn, they just change all the time, don't they? And sometimes like an algorithm change can really drop stuff. Like my own reach on LinkedIn has definitely dropped over the past year, for example. And then as you then end up basically scrambling to do more content and you start panicking and trying to, I guess, to do content that as you think will like will do better top of funnel wise, and then you kind of lose your like authenticity sometimes. So I think on the ad side, it's been a really good, like a good sales channel, just because you go make like a few static ads, a few videos, and then you run them. And then as long as you like add in new creatives like every month, it like kind of runs on autopilot, to be honest. Like as long as you're like managing those campaigns, optimizing the landing pages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the future, like, are you thinking of building your own sales funnels? What's your plan?
Yeah, I've sort of, Molly, my wife, she works with me now, so potentially, building out that sales funnel and scaling it, especially being over here in the UAE. There's a lot of opportunity with growth here. E-commerce is definitely maturing here. Wasn't so much like 10 years ago. So that's maturing here. So it's a good place to be in now. So we've got a lot of opportunity out here. So with Molly on board, there's definitely more that we can do as well, bringing in contractors to help potentially. So yeah, and then obviously my personal brand, I'm still very much interested in growing that. And, I've got my email that I do every week there to push more videos out. I want to give knowledge out for free. I'm a big believer in sharing what you know. So, I'll continue to do that as well. But again, I'm not in a rush to scale big agencies there. I'm very much, work with who I want to work with to help keep a very boutique service and just do good work with, the brands that I want to help whilst building a personal brand. And then, see what I'm always got my eyes open for opportunities. I've created businesses in the past. So I'm excited to see, what the next couple of years brings. I've got a few ideas in the pipeline. So I'm just biding my time, not rushing again. I'm big believer now, as well, staying focused. We've been magpies in the past. You see a silver thing and you fly straight over to it.
Yeah. Very guilty of that.
Yeah, and it's trying to not do that as as you mature in your career. It's understanding when to say no. No is a power skill.
Yeah.
Just focusing on, what's right for your business, what's right, to fit into your life. And the day you want a clearer mind, if you've got too many things going on, it can easily, crash and burn to the ground. So it's understanding, what you want to work on, setting goals and not taking on too much, because there will be opportunities, every week along the way, but it's knowing what opportunities are right for you.
Yeah. It's funny. I think that maybe like a few years ago, if you'd have asked me is the best way of being successful in your career or growing your business, I probably would have had a different answer. And now I think it's literally, it's just doing the like simple, boring stuff. And I think a lot of people, like, and this is coming, like, it's from my own experience with this, complicate things and try and like add things in which don't actually need to be added. Like I had a business which if I'd have focused on that for the past 5 years and only that, then it'd be a much, much, much bigger business than it is right now. And I've already seen like it grow in the past 6 months just from 6 months of focus. I'd stopped all my side projects, all of my like e-commerce brands and Instagram pages. And I was just doing too much and just spreading myself too thin and thinking I was successful for doing so. And actually I was just like a bit of a busy fool, to be honest. And I think then as soon as I've actually stopped all those side projects and I've started to focus like on one thing, that's when I've seen the best results. And it's like, if you'd have told me that like 5 years ago, I think I'd have saved myself so much time, to be honest. But like everything's always is clearer like in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's, lived lessons, isn't it? You've been there, done it, not same as me. So I think that's what entrepreneurship is, isn't it? Is moving through them struggles and learning by testing. So it's
Yeah.
it's never a failure. It's just a lesson along the way, and knowing it makes it more clearer on what you need to work on.
Yeah, man. Should we wrap it up there?
Let's do it.
Bro.
Always good chatting, my man.
And you. Let's do it
Till the
soon.
next one.
Right.